Hey guys, I'm Marisa at Marisa Rothman.
Danielle at Danielle TBD.
And this is our podcast, We Have Thoughts. And once again, we're picking up in the grand tradition of basically just talking about little pop culture television moments that stood out to us, good or bad, that we would like to speak about. Because again, we have thoughts and they're not just contained to our posts, interviews, tweets, podcasts, Tumblrs, Facebooks, etc. We have lots of stuff. So we have more thoughts to share with you guys. So we're just going to start talking. I think I kind of want to start off with Raising Hope.
Sure.
Because Raising Hope, Jimmy and Sabrina just got married. Yay, Jimmy and Sabrina. And, you know, it's a fascinating thing because these two have gone through such a very Raising Hope bizarre courtship where, you know, they were off and on for a couple of seasons and then they got together on Valentine's Day last year and then got engaged at the premiere of this year and now they're already married. And, you know, I thought they had a really great wedding episode. It was really, they did it, in case you didn't see it, because it doesn't get the biggest ratings in the world, they shot it in the style of Modern Family, and they committed to it. Like, if you had just tuned in for the first time, and you were a Modern Family fan, you'd be like, why is this show so thoroughly ripping off Modern Family? Or if you were a regular Raising Hope viewer, you might have just been, and you missed the first 2 minutes, you might have been very confused. It was a really solid, funny idea, and I really loved the execution of it. And personally, this is kind of going a little meta, but it really bummed me out that very few people were talking about it. Like, I think a couple of us were talking about it on Twitter, but all of the other talk was about another Fox comedy that night. And it's like, okay, yay, good, other comedy, but this is, a really creative, interesting experiment. And it also is two characters getting married. You don't, it's a big deal. And it kind of just really bummed me out that it was getting so swept under the radar. Like, there weren't, you know, there weren't like the big postmortems afterwards. There weren't the this, there weren't that. It wasn't like the widespread media circus that it could have been. And it kind of bummed me out.
Yeah, I mean, I know this is your moment, but I do want to just kind of weigh in on one thing because what I found so interesting about the episode was they weren't keeping it a secret at all.
Nope.
I mean, they really took the approach of we want people to know this is happening because we want people to tune in versus on that other Fox comedy, which I guess we're not naming, but I'm okay to name it. It was New Girl, and it was because Jess and Nick finally kissed because I personally don't care. That they kept that a big secret, and I think.
Oh no, they didn't. I mean, that's the thing about it. The commercials, they kept talking about all the commercials.
I didn't go by the commercials because I don't really watch commercials.
And that's also
but okay, then maybe I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That was my theory, was going to be that's why it got so much buzz, because people were like, oh my god, this happened. We wanted this to happen for a long time. People seem much more invested in Jess and Nick as a couple, and I've been hearing in parts of the press them being touted as like the next Ross and Rachel, which that's fine. I hate Ross and I hate Jess, so that's fine. I'm okay with that analogy. But so I feel like the kinds of fans that watch the show react to that show differently than they react to Raising Hope. Whereas with Raising Hope, it was very much like it's absolutely a special episode, and I too really enjoyed the episode, and I really enjoyed the stylization that for that show is so different.
Right.
And such kind of like it's tongue in cheek, and it's also a nod in a positive way. Like it's a little bit of, you could say that they're paying an homage to Modern Family, or you could say they're like, hey, screw you, they're doing so well, so we're gonna try to see if that helps us. Like whatever, depending on your stance on the show and your cynicalness about Hollywood. But it's just a different kind of show, I think.
No, yes, I totally get that. And it was one of those things where I think part of the aggravation grew because, I mean, I do watch a lot of Fox. It's not a secret. And I think I sent out I was catching up on American Idol on demand at some point over the weekend, and I got really frustrated because I'd seen like 45 commercials for New Girl.
Okay, that's different.
Where they're talking about, where they're basically saying, oh, they're being dared to kiss, and they're like them trying to kiss and like not quite getting there, and they're reaching out, kiss, 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 and they're saying, don't miss the kiss. Like they basically kept touting it.
Then never mind.
As this, and they kept like, you know, in all of the dozens of hours I'm watching Fox between, you know, last Tuesday and this Tuesday, I think I saw one solo Mindy Project commercial, one solo Raising Hope commercial. I saw, you know, a handful of Bones. I saw a good number of Following, which needed its week too. And I saw probably the most by far for New Girl. And I'm like,
yeah. I
I'm
mean,
like,
they're sticking
come
with
on.
what's already working, and they're just trying to make it bigger. But it's interesting because everything Kevin Riley said at TCA about how like Tuesdays he's proud of his comedies even though they don't do that well, and he doesn't want to mess with them. Well, that's been proven to be not true
Sorry, Benny
based
Cage.
on the way they've right. So it is interesting based on how the media is responding. But I think that it's also they're playing right into what Fox wants.
Oh yeah, I know, and
So-
I will say, as far as the episode itself goes, what hasn't really been said a lot, and what I actually was waiting to do this to talk about before I said was like, I don't think Jimmy and Sabrina are now legally married.
Well, they're
Because-
not.
I mean,
because
because-
if you
right,
if
because-
you watch, I mean,
and
everything's forged.
Right, and my wonder about that is that because they had this wedding, they did this big stunt.
And
What-
Jimmy doesn't.
and
Sabrina
Jimmy,
don't know.
they don't know that.
And I'm sure
So-
Bert and Virginia don't realize it.
Right, because they would not have done that maliciously
Right,
if
right.
they had realized that. But because they're not legally married, I wonder if that's going to be touched upon this season. Like, because I could see it going either way, where they're like, oh, well, they're married. We don't need to touch upon this now. If and when we come back for next year, maybe we'll bring that back up because this woman
Right.
never freaking dies.
Well, they always do. Yeah, I would say they
And-
do a crazy finale. So I mean, who knows? Maybe that's
the finale and they have a
cliffhanger.
real wedding or whatever. But it's like, yeah, it's just it's an interesting conundrum they're now in because like they had really I think special wedding episode, it didn't really count. So
Right. I mean, all they really have to do now is sign actual documents. They don't have to do
But
it all
that's
over
not
again.
an episode of a show. That's
Right,
so-
right. But I'm saying, but like it counts. It just doesn't count in the legal way.
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
love Sabrina's moment at the end. It made me tear up a little bit. So, I enjoyed it. I wish the rest of America was watching. All I'm saying, guys.